Welcome to Boulder City Council this evening. We will call the meeting to order and confirm posting and roll call.
Thank you, Mayor. The agenda was posted in accordance with open meeting law, and we have all members present in the council chamber tonight.
Thank you. We'll now have the invocation. Please stand. Cantor Philip Goldstein will offer it.
Thank you. We bow our heads. Almighty God, we thank you for the precious gift of life. May the marvelous senses which you have endowed us ever be directed toward good purposes and noble objectives. Help us to face our days with faith and optimism. Grant us the determination to confront every adversity with patience, hope, and courage. Inspire us to utilize our talents for the improvement of our community in which we live. Above all, to our own selves, let us ever be true. May honest convictions and sound moral judgment govern our actions. Fortify us in resisting the pattern of easy conformity. In moments of doubt, strengthen us in our convictions. In hours of gloom, illumine our paths. In adversity and frustration, gird us with patience. Grant us the strength of body and health of mind. Enable us to face the challenge of forthright living with faith and courage. Teach us to know that in the measure in which we give, so do we receive. And above all, imbue us with the wisdom to count our blessings. And let us all say, Amen.
Amen. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cantor Goldstein. In the way of public announcements, I have an announcement I'd like to make tonight. Boulder City is a community that embodies the American spirit. Nearly 12% of our residents are veterans, and we have hundreds of federal, state, county, and city workers. From the last Monday in May through July 4th, we honor many things that make us a great country. 2 weeks ago, we commemorated Memorial Day by planting flags at the Veterans Cemetery and remembrance services. Tonight, we pledged allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Tomorrow is Flag Day, observed June 14th, 1777, when the U.S. flag came to symbolize our great freedoms. Other great occasions in June: the 248th birthday of the U.S. Army is tomorrow. Monday is Juneteenth, now a federal, state, and local holiday. There is also American Eagle Day, Pride Month, the first day of summer, and more. And in just 3 weeks, one of our favorite occasions, Jamboree, on July 4th, Independence Day. Boulder City is an amazing place where freedom is cherished, diversity and inclusion are embraced. I encourage all of us to honor the American spirit that make our community and our country a place where life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are an unalienable rights for all. Thank you. Are there any other announcements? We will now open the microphone for public comment. All those wishing to come forward, please feel to take as long as you want to make sure it doesn't impact our game that's going to happen later. Any telephone public comment?
No one's on the phone line.
And is there anyone have written comments that they've sent in?
No comments were submitted.
Please go ahead.
Good evening. I'm Mary Ralph, and I am the current president for Emergency Aid of Boulder City. The mission of emergency aid reaches back to the origins of when Boulder City was originated So many people were in desperate situations, seeking work to care for their families during the construction of the Hoover Dam. Emergency Aid is a nonprofit organization providing services with local volunteers, resulting in nearly all revenues devoted to community residents. Today, Emergency Aid's mission is homeless prevention by providing emergency food and financial assistance to our Boulder City residents and stranded travelers. Emergency Aid is focused on assisting existing
Keep going, we're going to,
we're focused on assisting existing residents of Boulder City to avoid homelessness with emergencies that arise in their lives, such as loss of family members, loss of employment, or other unexpected financial losses. The mission and capabilities of Emergency Aid does not extend to assisting everyone in need. It is with regret that the organization does not have the means to assist everyone that may be in Boulder City and in need of a hand up. But our Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, does help provide some current residents during times of unexpected needs. Emergency Aid receives support from many residents in the community via donations, as well as receiving grants from the community, from Clark County, the state of Nevada, and the federal government. The Community Development Block Grant revenue being considered today has been shared with Lend a Hand for many years in a cooperative manner to benefit local residents. Emergency Aid is requesting $27,865,000 to partially fund the needs of the low-income households for rent and utility assistance in Boulder City. The specific purpose of this grant request is to keep families threatened with or facing the threat of eviction or avoiding disconnect of vital utility services. While the devastating effects of the COVID-19 pandemic have declined, the additional revenue Emergency Aid received has also declined significantly to address the lingering impacts of the pandemic. The increases in rent and mortgage levels over the past year with inflation has resulted in unprecedented rate increases. Our request for the CDBG distribution for the coming year will not approach the rate of increases that are currently being experienced. Emergency Aid is seeking additional funding from other sources to meet these increases, but the need for the CDBG revenue has never been greater. And an example, if we took 30 families from here in Boulder City and they had rent of $1,000 a month, that's $30,000. And those 30 families with a $100 utility bill, that's $3,000. That's $30,300. And it's over the requested amount. I do ask for your continued support of these funds and that are provided by our federal government for the vital and local support in our community. Thank you so much and have a good evening.
thank you, Ms. Rao. Someone on the phone line?
Fred Volz. 3 areas of today's agenda will be part of this public comment. Regarding item 5 on the consent agenda, giving $150,000 to Marcrea Development, LLC, and Robert Martin, this is the same unsettling situation of no public discussion as with the previous consent agenda awards to 3 terminated for cause city employees. The city has already prevailed on several of the claims through a partial summary judgment in the instant case. However, there is a bigger issue at stake than whether sufficient money resides in the Risk Management Fund. By approving this settlement and not continuing to fight the unjustified payouts through the court system, this fourth settlement in a short period of time encourages others to see the city and its taxpayers as a bottomless piggy bank and file additional frivolous lawsuits. This item needs to be removed from the consent agenda and the city's best interests discussed in public by this council. The support materials for item 7 provide much needed clarity about who the Pool Pact members are and how it operates, not shown on the public-facing website. When the Pool Pact representative makes today's scheduled presentation, it would be very helpful to explain if the over 32% year-over-year increase in premium is a blanket one for other members similarly situated to Boulder City, or we are being singled out in some way. Aside from stating that the number of potential reinsurers has decreased, we see no Boulder City specific explanation for why we are incurring such an enormous hike, far in excess of any official inflation rate one might reference. It is concerning that the city's risk rating is based on an increase of 39 vehicles from 2022 to 2023, or over 29%, with a flat city population, relatively static employee population, and supposed replacement of older vehicles, not giving more employees vehicles for the first time. It is also concerning that payroll has risen 12% from 2022 to 2023, since official inflation rates are not that high, and there has been no material increase in the total number of FTEs. Returning to item 5's proposed $150,000 payout, plus the proposed $921,000 in Pool Pact premiums for 2024, then adding in $51,000 in projected deductible payouts, leaves the Risk Management Fund with only $260,000, excluding any future infusions or new drains on the fund from council-approved payouts of questionable, defensible legal claims. This fund's upcoming financial situation places the city in an unfavorable spot. Concerning item 8B, Boulder City's water conservation efforts will not be materially improved by only covering new and renovated landscapes. We need existing ornamental grass to be removed, the most guzzling and lost forever usage. We have needed a comprehensive water conservation plan for the city's own excessive water use, not the 5% offered up thus far. When will those overdue regulations be added to 11-25-3? Our water supply is still in a serious state going forward, and the relatively small amount of water saved by retreatment of wastewater is far eclipsed by what is wastefully expended on city golf courses, in parks, and on private property for ornamental landscaping. When will the city compile and release a comprehensive and material water conservation plan, cutting back on its own use and existing landscape rather than unrealistically relying on the minimal new provisions of 11-25-3? And I would ask that these comments be added to the record verbatim. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Volz. Anyone else on the line? Thank you. We will now move to approval of the regular agenda. Is there a motion? Are there any changes, Madam City Clerk?
Changes.
I will move to, we need a motion to approve the regular agenda.
I move to approve the regular agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. And we'll now move to the approval of the consent agenda. Any changes, Madam City Clerk?
No changes.
Thank you. I would accept a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
And is there a second to Councilwoman Booth's motion?
I'll second that.
And seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Thank you. The consent agenda has been approved. Move to the regular agenda. Item number 6, we have a Rural Housing Authority presentation, and Mr. Hickey is here and is going to give a very brief overview. Was that subtle?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right. Good evening, Mayor Hardy and the council. I thank you for your time today. For the record, my name is Kevin Hickey, and I am the Business Development Specialist for the Homeownership Programs at Nevada Rural Housing. I'm here today to briefly add a bit more flavor to some of the points of interest outlined in the report provided with our request to transfer your city's unused bond cap. I'm also here to explain why we make the request and what our agency has been doing to help deliver housing opportunities to rural Nevadans. Nevada Rural Housing's area of operation is defined as communities with a population under 150,000. We're considered a local government and political subdivision, exercising public and governmental functions, and we are overseen by a board of commissioners appointed by the Nevada Association of Counties and the Nevada League of Cities. Who we are on paper isn't half as important as what we do in our communities, which has been happening since 1973. Nevada Rural Housing is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year, and it's pretty incredible to see how much the agency has grown from a public housing agency to a multifaceted housing finance agency that believes housing really is an ecosystem where we can and should find opportunities for all rural Nevadans, whether it's helping those on the brink of homelessness out of the cycle of poverty or families who are ready to take on the responsibility of home ownership. The last 50 years have seen important activity such as the birth of our homeownership program in 2006, which has delivered over $2 billion in affordable mortgages to rural Nevadans, some of which have happened right here in Boulder City. Running a homebuyer tax credit program that's resulted in $40 million in tax savings to rural homebuyers, helping them infuse those savings back into their local communities. And in our history, 729 units of housing have been built or preserved, contributing to that total housing ecosystem. We can say we're mission-driven all we want, but the talk is in the walk, and that brings us to our progress report to share with our important partners like the City Council here in Boulder City. Partnerships and relationships are the cornerstone of our program's success, and Boulder City has been a key contributor to that success of our homeownership programs from the beginning, with its transfer of unused private activity bond cap totaling $8.9 million to date. So thank you for that. Bond cap is a funding mechanism we use to help rural Nevadans benefit from the homebuyer tax credit program called the Mortgage Credit Certificate. Bond cap is not money or a line item in the city's budget, but instead the opportunity to issue debt for qualified purposes. It can be transferred to an entity like ours for the purpose of a tax credit program. We are requesting this body vote again this year to transfer the unused bond cap to help continue the momentum of Nevada Rural Housing's homeownership programs. Since 2006, our homeownership programs have provided 22 homebuyers in Boulder City with $5 million in affordable mortgages, more than $166,000 in down payment assistance, and $40,000 in estimated federal tax savings. And a quick note on the homebuyer tax credit program: it can save the homebuyer thousands of dollars over the life of the loan, plus it can help the homebuyer qualify for the loan in the first place, because that estimated tax savings for the first year can be used as qualifying income to boost that to get the loan in the first place. So the MCC, or the tax credit, has a real double benefit to homebuyers. That program is what's helped get many rural Nevadans into a home, and it's truly a game changer. Since 2006, Nevada Rural Housing has pooled local transfers, just like your transfer here, a private activity bond cap, to create one single-family homeownership program to benefit all rural Nevadans. We appreciate your continued support of this program because it makes the difference in your constituents and neighbors' lives as they make their way from renter to homeowner. And this probably goes without saying, but there's no silver bullet to solving our housing challenges. It takes partnerships, relationships, and smart, right-fit solutions for each community. Nevada Rural Housing's approach intends to be innovative, collaborative, and fiscally responsible, and we aim to maintain a blend of programs and services that deliver a mission that's housing and rural-centric. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have about the bond cap transfer or anything else I've covered here in the packet for the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions from council? Councilwoman Booth?
What is a maximum that you lend on one of these loans?
So there is no purchase price max, but there is a loan max depending on the program. So our homeownership programs, we have 3 different ones. And typically it's about, right now it's, for one program it's $647,200, and then conforming loan limits, which change every year, recently went up to about $725,000.
Other questions? I would accept a motion, or we'll consider Resolution 7645 now. Any comments or questions? I would accept a motion to approve Resolution 7645.
I move to pass resolution number 7645.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Thank you. Unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Hickey.
Thank you.
And we'll move to item number 7, Marshall Smith with Pool Pack, who is going to take a page out of Kevin Hickey's book and see how quickly you can do yours.
Did you hear that, Marshall?
So noted.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Paul Sikora. I'm your Purchasing, Grants, and Risk Manager. Tonight I have my risk management hat on. In front of you is a proposal, in front of you is an agenda item where we will do a presentation to talk about the fiscal year 2024 insurance premium. Marshall Smith will be doing a presentation talking about the premium, talking about some other associated pool pack issues and answering questions for you. Then after that is a resolution 7646 approving the payment of the fiscal year 24 insurance premiums. With that said, I'm going to turn it over to Marshall, and so he can start his presentation.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it, Mr. Shapiro.
Thank you. Good evening. Again, for the record, my name is Marshall Smith. I have the privilege of serving as the risk manager for Pool Pact. And you have a copy of the slides, and I'm going to move through this pretty quickly. If not, I've told Paul to let me know to move faster. So what I'd like to do first is maybe go to, let's see, well, let me tell you just a little bit about Pool Pact first. It is a pool of 139 public entity members throughout the state. It is a non-profit, statutorily created intergovernmental entity. So it's a non-profit. It is made up of only Nevada public entities. It is not a for-profit commercial carrier. So when a member joins Pool Pact and then pays those premiums, it is paying it to all the members. You're paying that all of that comes back to you. So, factors, Paul wanted me to talk a little bit about the factors that impact rates, premiums. First of all, it's a very hard market, insurance market out there, which means that there is inflationary rates. There's climate change, which impacts the entire world insurance property market. There's hurricanes that impact all of those property coverages. Law enforcement. We can't look at the TV sometimes and not see a story about some extraordinary claim that was made and then a settlement regarding law enforcement. That captures, that rate captures all law enforcement. You don't have a detention facility here, but you certainly have road operations here, and that impacts that. And then the SAM, or the sexual assault molestation coverage, same thing with typically extraordinary verdicts. That drives up rates for everybody across the insurance market. There, you'll see in the proposal that they've had reviewed the proposal, there's an increase in cyber rate, increase in overall claims, a decrease in coverage, simply because it is such a risk right now. And I'm going to go into a couple of things which, as a pool member, you can take advantage of, and as a matter of fact, Boulder City is doing just that. Again, the pool property rate increases lower than the industry standard. So if you were at a commercial carrier, not pool packed, you could look at your property rate increase on average between 25 and 35%. Our overall average was 14%. Now, you include that, the overall rate that went to all the members, then you start looking at the individual impacts that a member has. And all the members are different. All of the members have different total insured values, different number of employees, different payroll, different number of vehicles. So that is where those additional numbers are coming from. So you had an increase of 11.8%, that's $1.5 million in additional property, total insured value, a slight decrease in employees, but on the law enforcement, fortunately, you're able to add law enforcement officers, police officers to your force, but that's kind of a double whammy there because you're increasing the amount of officers and also impacting that increased law enforcement coverage cost, and as well as EMTs. And my understanding is that you have discussed the idea of increasing your deductible, which would have a corresponding decrease on your premium. I understand that is in discussion. And we're certainly willing and available to help you with that anytime. Now, I put this up because unlike a commercial carrier that has committees that make up, that determine what the coverages are, what the policy forms are, how the claims are going to be adjusted, these are the members of the executive committees of Pool Pact. And if you look on there, every one of them is from a Nevada public entity. That is the executive committees for Pool, which is the general liability portion of Pool Pact, and Pact, which is the workers' comp part. But there's nobody from California or Arizona or New York, or they're all Nevada public entity leaders on the Pool Pact executive, on your executive committees. And I note there, the Pool Pact also has a loss control committee, which guides the risk management efforts of the pool. And Paul is a member of that committee. And Bryce, of course, was a member before that. And so what Pool Pact does is it establishes, derives, develops program services to help every one of our members to match the enterprise risk management idea with every department that a member has. So cybersecurity, health and wellness, not only for employees, but primarily for law enforcement, first responders. Then e-learning platform, I'll talk about risk management, safety, and human resources. Then we go to this. So Boulder City is taking advantage of, as it ought to, of the programs and services that are available to all of our members. Now, these are not additional costs that Boulder City or any member pays. These are programs that are available to every member. So MSDS Online, every employer who has hazardous materials on site or that an employee may be exposed to, by law, has to have a safety data sheet for that. So if there is an exposure, that safety data sheet will say what it is and how to treat if there's exposure. Well, the MSDS Online is one of the best online platforms we've found, and Boulder City is using that to the tune, as last time I looked, 635 active documents. That means somebody is paying attention to those safety data sheets. Now, if you didn't have that, you'd probably have seen them, big yellow binders in the wherever they were kept, and they're all paper, old paper binders. This automates that. Target Solutions is designed primarily for EMS fire, which has some of the most remarkable training, online training capability that we have found. And then, of course, KnowBe4, which is a cybersecurity program to teach employees, not only employees, any person in an entity that has access to the entity's network should be involved in KnowBe4, because this is where it's excellent training on cybersecurity. And again, Boulder City has 278 active users. Now, I put those prices up there. If you were on your own different commercial company, those would be values you'd have to pay outside of the benefit of your membership. The e-learning program is the Absorb program, over 350 courses. They're there for, it's an in-house training platform for all of your employees, for most of their needs. And they're very, it's flexible, it's 24/7. They're all about 8 to 12 minutes long, and they're very effective courses. And Boulder City, again, is 425 users out in the open market. That's a value of about 25 grand there. The cybersecurity, again, as a benefit of membership in the pool, the pool is able to bring in a national subject matter expert, a guy by the name of Tony Rucci, who will come in and do what's called a P&A, or a passive network assessment, where he will go through your entire network and identify vulnerabilities and then provide you with ideas how to address those vulnerabilities. That's approximately $18,000 for that. And then, of course, the HR program, which Lourdes and Bryce, you use that resource extraordinarily. It's a great resource, and you're using that. Now, the Enterprise Risk Management Excellence Program, and I'm almost done here. This is a program that was developed by the Pool Pack Loss Control Committee. It is a voluntary program which focuses on the idea of enterprise risk management. The core understanding of that, of any enterprise, is comprised of multiple departments. If you have one department that is functioning very well, strong leadership, productive and engaged employees, delivering that excellence in public service, that department is going to have a corresponding positive impact on every other department. It has to. Similarly, though, if we have a department that is lacking in that leadership, that lack of engagement, employee productivity, that has a similar impact. So we look at the entire enterprise, everybody has an impact on every other department. Now, this is called the Excellence Program. It's not called the Average Program. So for all of there's between 25 and 40 questions per section. And those are all identifying best practices for each one of those departments. And in order to achieve the award, every question in every department has to be responded to as in place and operational, which means three things. One, that there's a best practice policy in place. Two, that all relevant staff are trained to that policy. And three, all that training is documented. So the departments, whether the sections here, whether a member has 2 employees or it has 2,000 employees, every entity has to go through the risk management, human resources, fiscal controls, cyber, and board governance. Because irrespective of the number of employees, everybody's got those departments. Then, the other, if a member has more departments, like Boulder City, we then have Public Works, Streets and Roads, Parks and Rec, a separate aquatics section, vehicle fleet, law enforcement, we do both road operations and detention. And of course, we have fire services and school districts and hospitals. So Boulder City, which I'm very proud to talk about, is engaged in the program, and we just had a meeting with Paul and Gary, and it was such a joy to go through those questions, and they would say, yeah, we have that in place. Would you like to look at our policy? I would say, yes, we would. So that they're moving very rapidly on that. And the first section, I got to point out, that Boulder City has completed in all of those sections. The first one is completed. I had a great meeting with Council Member Booth, and it was very productive. The council member was very engaged in this, with Tammy was there, and that section is complete. So you're well on your way. Now, the Loss Control Committee determined that there's a value to having members achieve this. And so, it's, the criteria is based on two primary factors. One, the number of employees an entity has, and then the number of departments that it has. Those total up about $17,600. So which means when Boulder City achieves this award, Pool Pack Loss Control Committee will award the entity, Boulder City, with a check of that amount. Then that check goes to a special account, and the destiny of that money is determined by an entity safety committee for safety-related risk reduction, risk mitigation efforts. That's it. If you have any questions, I will endeavor to answer them.
We're so proud of you. Thank you. Any questions?
Mr. Mayor, I have a question.
Go ahead.
On your last topic here, if the entity receives this Enterprise Risk Management Award and that $17,600 value, is that able to go towards premiums at all?
You know, that would be up to it's a check that would come back to the member. You know, the reason that the committee decided to insert that there has to be an account into which that money can go is because in the past, all the people that did all the work on that on the program devoted all the time, because it is a lot of time. That check would be sent to the entity, and it typically go to the board, and the board knows what to do with any check that comes in. It spends it on what it determines is necessary. So to answer your question directly, it comes to the entity.
We could conceivably put it in the risk management account and use it for that purpose.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Comments? So that makes us go to Resolution 7645. I would accept a motion.
Mr. Mayor, do we want to have any conversation about which option we might want to consider as a group before we have a resolution?
I would have you make that as part of your motion if you'd like.
Fair enough. For the benefit, Mr. Sikora, of those in attendance, either online or in person, we had a conversation during our briefings about the comparison of the lower premium versus the higher deductible, and why staff is giving a particular recommendation either way. If you could just succinctly review that for us, please.
Yes, sir. So we were offered two options. The first option is for a $10,000 deductible, and that total cost is $920,000. We were also offered a price with a $25,000 deductible for $831,000. So if you initially look at it and say, well, we could save $90,000 by getting a higher deductible, you have to do a little more math and look into it. And by changing our deductible to $25,000 incurs a lot more risk because the city averages about 7 claims a year, sometimes more, sometimes less. If any large proportion of those claims come in and we're paying a full deductible, $25,000, well, all of a sudden that savings that we were going to achieve is going to be gone with a higher deductible. It's very risky. So we looked at it, we took a look at our last 3 years' data, we did a quick review, and we made a recommendation that we go with option one, we stay with $10,000 deductible. One, because we know it, it's predictable. We know at worst case, we're gonna spend $70,000 a year or so on deductibles. But we also want to study our actual claims over the next 2 years and come back at that deductible next year or the year after with better data than what we have right now. So we're recommending option one, the $10,000 deductible, be what we go with.
Thank you, and I'll leave the rest of the open discussion.
Any other comments? Councilwoman Jorgensen?
Thank you. Just for the sake of questioning that we had earlier, is this increase uniform across all participants?
Thank you again. For the record, Marshall Smith with Poolpack. It is. It is, and it depends on, like I indicated, that 14% was across the board. That's just the cost involved that is impacting every single member. Then you add to that any member's increase in their insured values, automobiles, employees, all that, then that increases from there.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead and follow up if you'd like.
That was my follow-up.
Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion.
Okay,
I move to approve Resolution 7646 with option one.
I'll second.
moved and seconded. Any discussion? See none. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. Unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, Paul.
Sir.
Appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Council.
We're going to move to item number 8, and I've been considering doing something maybe a little unique in some ways, but I know that we have different talents and assignments, and if we look at number 8 on the agenda, there will be a public hearing that we will have, and after the public hearing, we'll have consideration of bill number 1959, which is the code, and then resolution 7647, which is the resolution, and the resolution is the type of plants. So if we put those resolutions together in the code, we would be putting the kind of plants together in the code, which isn't our easiest way to change things. So we're going to do two things, and Mr. Mays, you can explain that better than I am. But when we get done with your presentation, Councilman Walton will lead the discussion, and when he is through leading that discussion, or if I get tired of hearing him, I will lift my gavel and take back control so we can have a motion and a vote. Mr. Mays.
Good evening, Mayor Hardy, members of the City Council. Where I'd like to begin is just a very brief explanation of what the landscaping ordinance is all about. Every municipality has regulations that guide certain minimum requirements for the plantings, the trees, shrubs, and ground cover that are installed as part of new development. Notice I emphasize new development. This does not regulate existing development. This does not regulate single-family homes. If a homeowner is replacing landscaping in their yard, it's not regulated by this ordinance. This provides guidance on the type of landscaping that would be required for all new projects within the community. Why are we looking at this now? Well, it's threefold. First, Southern Nevada Water Authority had asked all the jurisdictions in Southern Nevada to re-examine our landscaping ordinances because in response to the 20-year drought and in response to concerns about water conservation, they wanted us to look to recommend plants that are more desert tolerant and use less water. And so that's been a guiding principle to this ordinance text amendment change. In addition to that, the last time the landscaping ordinance had a major amendment was 1983. And so it's been long overdue to reevaluate landscaping requirements in the community. And our existing ordinance is based on an old system that talks about points. How many points of landscaping can you put on a new development? And that's really not the best way to address landscaping for its long-term survivability. And so you have before you an ordinance that clarifies language, updates the regulations to follow SNWA recommendations, and specifically for the first time would tie required landscaping to appropriate trees, plants, and shrubs that are recommended by the Southern Nevada Water Authority. So these would be the types of plants that are going to best survive in a desert climate. The text amendment was considered by the Planning Commission on April 19th, and they unanimously recommended approval of the proposed text amendments. And so before you, Mayor, as you had stated, is Bill number 1959, and what staff is looking for with consideration of that bill is a recommendation for approval with the findings that are contained on page 151. And then after consideration of that bill, Resolution 7647, which would adopt the Southern Nevada Water Authority recommended plant lists. So the two go hand in hand with the ordinance. And as you noted, Mayor, a public hearing is required. And with that, I can answer any questions.
Any questions? So we will open the public hearing. This time, invite anyone who would like to participate in the public hearing to come forward. Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, anyone else on the line?
Nobody's on the phone line yet.
Okay, and no written comments?
No written comments submitted.
Thank you. So if you want to call in at 702-589-9629, that would be appropriate. And as we go forward, we will have Councilman Walton, who is our resident committee member of the Water District, to have discussion led on both the consideration of the bill and the resolution, and then he will generously give me back the gavel for the motion to accept the motion and the second on both of those in that order.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Community Development Director Mays left really no stone unturned. Thank you. So just as a reminder, we're considering two bills.
Excuse me, Councilmember Wong, can I just interrupt for one moment? Did you close the public hearing, Mayor?
I'm closing the public hearing as of now because we gave him enough time before Councilman Walton started. Thank you.
No, thank you. The two bills, 1959 as the text amendment change to the titles in our agenda, as well as 7647 for the plant standards. And as a reminder to council members that any motion should include the statement with findings. And there is an additional handout that we all received titled item number 8 in the top right-hand corner, requested by Councilmember Walton. The highlighted yellow section was that we permit landscaping material for shrub requirements that may also include metal artwork, such as, and I'll use the example on Colorado Street, the rabbit, the metal plant, the stone, etc., there as also an option as approved by the city. And Mr. Mayor, that's the introduction of this from my part. Is there any discussion? Mr. Mayor, I see no discussion. I'll turn the gavel back to you.
I would accept a motion including findings for consideration of Bill number 1959.
I'll make a motion to,
Is,
is that okay?
go ahead.
To adopt 1959 with findings on page, I think it was 151, and adopt 7647 plant standards.
Well, we have to do those separately.
Oh, we have to do them separately, okay.
Does that include the proposed changes by Councilmember Walton?
Oh, that goes with 1959? Okay.
Correct.
And that includes Mr. Walton's changes, which I think are a great idea.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed say nay. Unanimous. And then, if Councilman Walton will allow, we'll accept a motion for 7647, a resolution. And we don't need to do any other comments about that one.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move to approve 7647.
Moved to approve 7647. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Thank you. That resolution 7647 was approved as well. We will now move to regular agenda number 9. And this one, we will have Councilwoman Jorgensen lead the discussion.
Thank you, Mayor. First off, I'd like to disclose that pursuant to NRS Chapter 281A, that I'm a member of the Boulder City Sunrise Rotary, and I've been advised by the city attorney that this relationship does not amount to a conflict of interest pursuant to NRS Chapter 281A, and that I may participate and vote on this item. And I'd like to turn the time over to City Manager Tedder to kind of introduce what we have here.
Thank you, Councilwoman. I would also like to disclose that I was advised by the city attorney that while I am also a member of Sunrise Rotary Club, I have no fiduciary or leadership responsibilities with the club, and as I'm also not voting on the item, there is no conflict. So good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. The item before you tonight is a special event promotion grant for Sunrise Rotary Club's annual Worst Festival event in the amount of $1,666.50. A little bit of background on the special event promotion grant. These are provided to help support local community events that help bring people to the community and offer entertainment opportunities for residents. Applicants are reimbursed 50% of their advertising expenses. So this evening's request, again, is $1,666.50 for promotion of the Worst Festival event on September 30th, 2023. And after this, if you choose to approve this grant, the remaining balance of this line item would be $2,833.50, which could go towards another grant if one came up before the end of the fiscal year at the end of the month. So I stand for any questions.
Thank you. Is there any disclosures at this time?
If I can make a disclosure, please. I'll read this as provided by the city attorney. I would like to disclose pursuant to NRS Chapter 281A that I am a member of Boulder City Sunrise Rotary. I've been advised by the city attorney that this relationship does not amount to a conflict of interest pursuant to said NRS chapter, and that I may participate and vote on this item.
Great, thank you, Councilman Walton. Is there any discussion at this time? See, okay.
I'll just chime in. You know, this is the big fundraiser for Sunrise Rotary, the Wurstfest, and the lion's share of what is covered for the senior grad night party is from the proceeds of the Wurstfest. And there are many of our community leaders, both in leadership and in private capacities, who graduated from Boulder City High and were benefactors of that event. Many of us who are now in other positions in the city, our children participated in that. And so I think this is a fantastic cause for the community. It serves our children, our young adults, I should say, and graduating seniors in a way that it helps them remain safe and provides them with a great opportunity to start off their next chapter in life with a great opportunity for a safe graduation night and to really kick off from there. So I think the Sunrise Rotary is, along with the other civic groups in our community, do great work, and certainly they all deserve recognition, but we're grateful for tonight to address this particular one, and we're glad for them to do the Wurstfest. That's all I wanted to add.
Thank you, Councilman Walton. I'd like to echo those comments and also add that they also participate in our recovery program, which has been beneficial on so many levels. And as with all of these grants that we provide, it's such an asset to the community for a number of reasons, bringing people into the businesses in town and letting them see how lucky we are to live in Boulder City and how wonderful Boulder City is. And they truly do support our community, which is nice. So is there any other comments and or discussion?
Thank you. If I may, I look at the four-way test, and this certainly is applicable in this case, and I appreciate the people in Rotary who have been so civic-minded and being part of our community and investing in the youth and helping those who have made mistakes. And I've been very impressed with the Sunrise Rotary and how they've been so instrumental in doing so many good things, including the people sitting to my right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Is there any other discussion? Seeing no other discussion, I'd like to turn it back over to you.
Thank you. I would accept a motion to approve Resolution 7648.
I make a motion to approve Resolution 7648.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded to approve Resolution 7648. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. It is unanimous. Thank you. We will move to item 10. Our city attorney will present for possible action 7639 resolution. Ms. Walker.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you, you have Resolution 7639. This resolution would approve a city prosecutor services agreement with Mr. Thomas Moskal of the Moskal Law Firm for city prosecutor services for a 2-year term. Section 15.5 of the Boulder City Charter authorizes the city attorney as chief legal counsel to recommend employment of special counsel with the city council's consent. The city has historically contracted with an attorney to provide city prosecutor services. The current contract is expired, and the current city prosecutor, Mr. Gary Booker, will be retiring from his 18 years of service with Boulder City. We do plan on honoring him at the next council meeting for his service. With the contract expired, the city issued a request for statement of qualifications for these services, and on May 9th, an evaluation committee consisting of director-level positions and experts on the field conducted a interview of both candidates as well as reviewed their materials submitted. The evaluation committee unanimously chose Mr. Moskal as the most responsive and responsible respondent. And so, if you'll indulge, I will invite Mr. Moskal up to provide a little bit more about his experience in Clark County. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
And I'll keep it brief. Look, I was a former county prosecutor. I worked under Wolfson for 7 years. I was the lead DUI death prosecutor for the county. One of the last cases I handled was out here in Searchlight when the 5 cyclists were killed. I'm sure everybody's aware of that case. So I feel very qualified for the position. I feel very grateful that I'm being considered for this. I walked into Boulder City. I walked into Mr. Booker's office last year at a point in time, and we had, so to speak, spilt the same blood in the same mud. He actually created the DUI unit for the county back in the 90s, and we had a huge conversation, and he told me about the services he provides, and I was interested. So when I saw it come up for bid, I definitely put my name in the hat. That being said, I was going to keep it brief. I just wanted to say I met Mayor Hardy a little bit earlier. Thank you to Ms. Walker for introducing me to everybody, and I said, man, Joe Hardy, that's a really strong name. That's the kind of name, if you move to Hollywood, you change your name to Joe Hardy to try and make it. But now I'm looking at all the nameplates up here, and I go, this is like if I'm writing a fictional novel about casting a movie in Hollywood, like these are the 5 A-list actors we're attaching to it. So, and I'm just Tom Moskal, you know? I mean, yeah, maybe stunt coordinator. But yeah, I'm happy to serve here. I hope that I do get your vote here tonight, and it's going to be a seamless transition. I have no concerns about skipping a beat from what Mr. Booker's doing to what I'm doing. And to echo something that was said earlier, there's no silver bullet when it comes to certain things, and criminal justice is certainly not one of those things too. I know that artificial intelligence will never replace the prosecutors because it takes a human being to look at every case individually and use that discretion. I miss the power I had as a prosecutor with the county to be able to make the right decision in a case. You don't look at everything like a nail. Sometimes things do need to get hammered, though, and that's what I'm here to do for the city of Boulder. Look at what's best for the community and the individual across from me. If anybody has any questions or anything.
Well, I have to ask the obvious question. Are you talking about the Joe Hardy detective, or are you talking about the damn Yankee?
I'll plead the fifth.
Thank you. Any comments or questions?
Mr. Mayor, if I could ask, I'm just going to ask you a philosophical question since you kind of went into that, looking at things, if the only tool you have is a hammer, everything's a nail, right? So there's 2 scales or 2 sides to the scale of justice, right? Tell us what your opinion is on which each one represents and how you approach that in your professional life.
So remind me, what's on each scale?
You tell me.
You know, I thought about getting the tattoo on my arm of the Lady Justice, but I never really looked at the minutia of what was on the scale. What I know is this: when I was a young prosecutor, when you first come into the office, you're cutting your teeth, and you feel like you have to make a name for yourself by going hard in the beginning so you won't be taken advantage of, and that's kind of encouraged by your superiors. And there's nothing worse after practicing on the defense side and having friends that are defense attorneys. They go, there's nothing worse than having a young, inexperienced prosecutor who isn't able to look at it in that way. Councilmember Jorgensen was, I was talking to her earlier about my specialty court experience. And I actually have probably the most specialty court experience out of most prosecutors that work for the county. So I'm a firm believer that, we're looking to rehabilitate when we're doling out justice, but we're also looking to protect the community at the same time. And the thing that I like about what I'm going to be doing for Boulder City is the idea of retribution isn't going to be so present. In the cases I had to handle, you had victims who suffered severe, violent victimizations. Not to duplicate the word, but retribution had to be part of the system because that's why we have it. And when we're dealing with, what are lower stakes and misdemeanor offenses. Now we're looking at someone where it's more the individual on the other side. Can we go ahead and do something, fashion something that's going to rehabilitate them? And so I guess with the Lady Justice, you know, the blindness, sometimes it can be looked at as you have to be consistent, and that means we have to do the same thing for every person, or else if I cut this person a break, I have to cut everybody a break. I don't believe in that so much anymore. I mean, that's why you have people on this side of the aisle. You have to look at things. And my 4-year-old was going to be here tonight, but his mom's watching him. She's a career prosecutor downtown, and boy, she can be in Hammer. Yeah, she really can. And she served as a mentor to me, and we work together, but I always try to scale her back a little bit sometimes, you know. So I've seen every side of it. I don't know if that answers your question or not. I wish I knew what was sitting on those scales, especially if I was going to get it tattooed on my body when I was younger. I'm glad I didn't do that.
Honestly, I haven't noted if there is anything in particular engraved in the images of that, but the fact that there are two sides to the scale was the point I was trying to make, and I wanted to hear your interpretation of the application of that. And thank you. You hit the points I was looking for that I think serve Boulder City well, and I appreciate the answer.
Go ahead. Any other comments or questions or observations? We appreciate you coming up and enjoying city council with us. Look forward to having you have that ability to make sure that we are fair and at the same time recognizing the rights of both sides. And yes, as a prosecutor, you have a special obligation. We appreciate you being able to do your job. And if you have any questions of us at any time, we'll try to refer it to somebody else. Any other questions? I would thus accept a motion for Resolution 7639.
I'll move to approve resolution number 7639.
Is there a
I'll second
second?
that.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I would open the discussion now on item number 11, and this will have a public hearing, after which Councilman Fox will conduct the discussion.
During the consent agenda, one of the items that the council approved was an interlocal agreement between the city and the county, which provides 3% of the community development block grant funds that are received by Clark County to be allocated to Boulder City. That 3% is approximately $251,000 for fiscal year 23-24. Of that money, 85% must be utilized on capital projects. However, the other 15% can be utilized to support local nonprofits that support people in need and are looking for assistance. For many years, Boulder City has provided those 15% funds to two entities, as Emergency Aid and Lend a Hand. And there's an agreement between the two entities where Emergency Aid receives 74% of those funds, or approximately $28,000 in this case, and Lend a Hand receives 26% of those funds, which is approximately $10,000. So you have before you Resolution 7649, which would continue that funding allocation of the 15% portion to these two entities. And with that, I can answer any questions.
Oh my goodness, I'm starting now. Are there any questions for Mr. Mays?
Maybe not a question so much as a comment. I know that earlier we had Mary here talking about what Boulder City Aid does and that these programs are integral to part of our community. And you can see that the inception of it being so long ago and Lend a Hand being here, each of them carries a part, along with Senior Center and other organizations that we have here that are vital to help our community thrive. So just my comment would be, I think this is a great way to be able to use this.
Are there any other questions or comments for Mr. Mays? Okay, with that, thank you, sir. I'd like to open up the public hearing on the Community Development Block Program for Lend a Hand and Emergency Aid. So is there anyone in here that would like to speak?
Sure.
Hi, I'm short, that's what I am. I'm Deborah Finnegan. I am the current treasurer for like 20-something more days. I just agree with everything that Mary had said earlier, but because I am the treasurer, I'm a little fiscally skeptical. Last year we spent $246,000. Out of that $246,000, 10% went to admin. We have one part-time, unbelievably, office manager. He works about 20 hours. He charges us 20 hours a week, but he works a lot more. So we really try to be good stewards of our money. We get approximately, she was like talking about all the grants. I'm going, we get approximately, with your generous grant, $87,000 a year. We do a little bit of fundraising, Copper Kettle, some fraternal organizations help us out. Mostly we get donations from businesses, residents. It's just wonderful. And I am going to step down as the treasurer, but my thing is I'm going to try to be a little bit more active in more fundraising, and that's and fun stuff. I'm going to be the director of fun. That's what I'm going to be. But I just want to thank everybody. I really do. And we really try to be good stewards of our money. Am I supposed to sign this? And thank you all.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? Is there any written comments, Tammy or Ms. McKay?
No comments were received.
Okay. With that, we'll move to the phones. Call 702-589-9629.
Thank you, Councilman Fox. I will close the public hearing on item number 11 and accept a motion for consideration of Resolution 7649.
I'll move to approve Resolution 7649.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Thank you. That has been unanimous. We'll move now to item number 12 and City Manager before we have a public hearing on it.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. Tonight, I am delighted to bring before you the collective bargaining agreement for the Teamsters Local 14 Blue Collar Bargaining Unit for the period of July 1, 2022 through June 30th, 2025. The existing agreement for the Blue Collar Bargaining Unit employees expired on June 30th, 2022. So over the past, over a year, myself, City Attorney Walker, Administrative Services Director Bolt, and our support staff have diligently met with representatives from the Teamsters Local 14 to negotiate a new collective bargaining agreement for the Blue Collar group. We worked to update the agreement to mirror current city practices and model similar agreements in other jurisdictions. The negotiations occurred in a time of record inflation and during a national labor shortage. The city and the union have tentatively agreed to a proposal to extend the collective bargaining agreement with increases in the city's contribution towards health care insurance, added the option for light duty due to non-work related injuries, expanded on-duty injury coverage, expanded work out of class benefits, and wages. Pursuant to NRS 288.153, any new extended or modified collective bargaining agreements between a local government employer and a union must be approved at a public hearing. The chief executive officer of the local government shall also report to the local government the fiscal impact of the agreement, so I will do that now. The total financial impact of the 3-year agreement totals $1,933,815, and the breakdown of the total cost is: in financial year 23, the wages increased by $227,617, with benefits including medical increased by $780, and a lump sum bonus of $124,507, totaling $352,904 of increased costs for fiscal year 23. In fiscal year 24, wages increased $641,613, with benefits including medical increasing by $29,328, and lump sum bonus of $133,698, totaling a $775,311 increased cost for 24. And for fiscal year 25, wages increased by $805,600, with benefits including medical increasing $52,728, totaling $805,600 for the increased cost of fiscal year 25. Funding does exist within the fiscal year 23 and 24 budgets to cover the increase in salary and benefits. Subsequent years, which will be the financial year 25 agreement, financial year 25 will be properly budgeted and accounted for during our next budgeting process. So again, very excited to have, this is the 6th agreement to be approved by you, and the next one is the next item, 5th. And I stand for any questions. Thank you.
Any questions?
I have one.
Go ahead.
There's retro pay involved in this, right? So we have the impact for fiscal year 23 that you enumerated. Does that include the retro pay as part of that fiscal year impact, or is that separated out?
Yes, this includes the retroactive pay back to July 1 of 2022, which was the start of fiscal year 23.
Thank you.
So as I recall, because of the individual raises of a certain percentage and a certain percentage and a certain percentage, and the back pay that that will be done, a person will not take a hit out of their paycheck for the increase in the PERS contributions. Is that correct?
That's correct. So in mid-July, the Public Employee Retirement System, we're an employer shared contribution. So the employee takes an in lieu of salary decrease for their contribution to PERS. So that's 1.875% this year. And so since this agreement will be in place, they will see no decrease in their checks.
Thank you. Any other questions? Appreciate it. And with that, we'll open up public hearing on Resolution 7650.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Fred Horvath, and I'm the Principal Officer of Teamsters Local 14. Here to ask for your support on the blue collar agreement and the clerical agreement, so I'll only have to come up here once this time. I just wanted to extend my appreciation to the city manager, city attorney, and the team that they brought together. It took some time, but we literally rewrote a contract that really hadn't been touched in probably 20 years. It needed some attention, and I think we worked collaboratively, created some very effective and efficient solutions. It wasn't all roses. I also want to thank Chief Shea. He was very helpful for all of the work we did in dispatch. That is a insanely challenging job. Staffing levels create its own set of issues, but can't say enough about how much I appreciate the work he did. So thank you. We really appreciate it and ask for your support.
Thank you. Any other people interested in public comment or calling in or anything written? Calling in 702-589-9629. Seeing nothing, I would accept a motion to approve Resolution 7650.
I move to approve motion 7650.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. And that has been approved unanimously. We will now open item number 13. City Manager.
Good evening again, Mr. Mayor and council members. So this is the 6th of 8 of our collective bargaining agreements. This is the Teamsters Local 14 Clerical Bargaining Unit. So again, this agreement did expire in June 30th of 2022. And when the contract expires, of course, we must negotiate a new agreement. So again, this same time frame, over more than a year, we've been working with the local 14 Teamsters to renegotiate this agreement. The city and the union have tentatively agreed on this proposal to extend the collective bargaining agreement with expanded on-duty injury coverage, expanded work out of class benefits, increases in the city's contribution towards health care insurance, and increased coverage on on-duty injuries, expanded work out of class benefits, and wages. I will present the total financial impact of the clerical agreement over the 3 years. It totals $1,141,359. So in fiscal year 23, the wages increased by $128,805 with no increase in benefits, including medical, and lump sum bonus of $70,378, totaling $199,183 for fiscal year 23. In fiscal year 24, the wages increased by $355,155, with benefits including medical increasing $16,836 and lump sum bonus of $75,339, totaling $447,330 increased cost for fiscal year 24. And then in fiscal year 25, the wages increased by $464,210, with benefits including medical increasing by $30,636, totaling a $494,846 increased cost for fiscal year 25. And again, with this agreement, the funding does exist within our fiscal year 23 and fiscal year 24 budgets, and we will properly budget and account for fiscal year 25's increase through the annual budget process. And I stand for any questions you may have.
Any questions that are the same question? Like as in retro pay?
Yes, that's included in this. And again, there will be no PERS decrease visible to the employees.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? I would accept a motion to approve Resolution 7651.
Mayor will need to do the public hearing first.
I-
Thank you.
I knew there was a reason Fred came.
You want to get to that game.
I will open up public hearing and seeing nobody here that wants to get up, but is there anybody who's on the phone line 702-589-9629 or anybody written anything in?
No public comments were received, and nobody's on the phone line.
All right. Now I will accept a motion to approve 7651.
I move to approve Resolution 7651.
I'll
And
second.
moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I have a discussion, please.
Go ahead.
Negotiations with a public entity can be sticky sometimes. I just really appreciate the way that negotiations have been approached from both the representative perspective from Mr. Horvath and the Teamsters, as well as our executive staff. We often hear that employees or personnel is our greatest asset or resource, and then promptly act as though they're not. And negotiations and contract issues really can hinge on how that perception is put across, or even the reality of it. And so I feel that as a public entity, we need to strike that balance of fiscal responsibility, but also as caring for our employees as though they are the most valuable asset we have. And so from both perspectives, thank you to all who have done so, and we look forward to resolving what remains in the same fashion. And I will express appreciation to all those who, from the represented groups, also participate as union representatives or shop stewards or in various capacities to help labor management relations work smoothly within the city. We do value our employees. I hope that they know that. I hope that they know that our city council is supportive of them individually, of their families, of their efforts to help Boulder City be the community that it is. We can't give away, bonuses every year. We're not that type of company, but we truly do appreciate them, and I wanted to say that publicly. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I'd just like to
Go ahead.
echo what Steve just said, or Mr. Walton just said, because truly, they are a great asset, and I truly do appreciate them. Everybody's always so helpful and tries their hardest to always help you, so I really do appreciate them. Thank you.
Thank you. I would now accept a motion to approve Resolution 7651.
We have a motion and a second, so you're ready for the
Good.
vote.
We're on this. I would call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed say nay. Motion is approved unanimously. We'll now move to number 14, City Council appointments for the Allotment Committee. And you have one person volunteer data sheet on your desk that wasn't included in the online. And this is where we have 3 positions to fill that are continuations and 4 that are new.
Just the reverse order. So 3 people need to be selected by allotment to fulfill the term expiring in June of 2025. And then we'll need 4 members selected for vacant terms that we have that would expire June 30th, 2024.
So 4 for 24 and 3 for 25.
Yes, please.
So which one am I doing first?
The ones that expire in 2025, please.
Can I delegate somebody to pull these out of the glass bowl?
You cannot.
I'm going
It's
to
the
do it
mayor's
all by myself.
responsibility.
The first one, and you know which one I'm doing. The first 3 are for what? 2025. So this one, I'll have to throw out because it was upside down. Anthony Freese. Charlene Johnson. Teresa Beaver. And now I do 4.
That's correct. That will, terms expire June 30th, 2024.
Robert Yoder. This is a special glass bowl, by the way.
So Funkin'
Um,
Wagnalls.
Lauren Safransky, used to be Oliver. Rebecca Ballister. And Deborah Couture. Having done those, they are now, I don't have to take a vote out or anything on that, they are chosen.
They're chosen.
And we will move now to public comment. And if you want to call in for public comment, it's the same phone number while Fred Horvath gives us a lecture.
Not quite. Well, maybe. Good evening again. I feel compelled to ask for some action and your help. The electrical agreement is an incredibly challenging situation. I know there's a perfect storm in purchase power contracts. For context, 15 years before I went to the city of Henderson, I worked in the electric utility industry in senior positions in the U.S. and Glasgow, Scotland. So I kind of understand the dynamics of trying to run an electric utility, and they're difficult. They're difficult, particularly when you're dependent on purchase power. I was in the industry when Nevada Power took a $400 million write-off because they speculated on purchase power and got hit. I was in the industry when Enron imploded. I understand the challenges the city faces. Also, been in the industry long enough to know that for a decade, everyone talked about, we got to get apprentices, we got to get apprentices, people are aging, there's going to be a shortage, and we are in a full-blown shortage of journeyman linemen, journeyman substation electricians. And when that happens, it's just basic economics of supply and demand. And because there's such a short supply, the hourly rates for journeymen have just skyrocketed and really, really done something unprecedented in the last 12 months. I think we had an incredible discussions through October of last year, again, made some great changes, great progress. We got down to Article 33 wages, and it stopped. To be direct, I'm asking you, and I look at the four-way test and just love it, and on the basis of the four-way test, I'm asking you to terminate your relationship with Fisher Phillips. It is the most disrespectful, unresponsive situation I've seen, and again, for a little perspective, I negotiated every labor contract at the city of Henderson from 2005 to 2016. I've employed that group or been part of that group, and I know what their strategy is. And the strategy is delay, the strategy is litigate, and the strategy is build billable hours that you get to pay for. I can bring you, and we'll send you emails to document that we asked for mediation in February 28th. We don't hear a thing, and I don't think they hear a thing, because I experienced it when I was dealing with it, for 6 weeks. Fast forward another 6 weeks for a different delay. Today just took the cake. We asked for mediation in February, and it's actually going to take place at the end of July. Then there's fact-finding. That's the next process. Today, we get told that fact-finding can't happen until August 22nd. Then, after fact-finding, unless the city wants to agree in advance, but I already saw what their attorney said today about, no, we're not doing that. This is just the first step. You get to do it all over again in arbitration. We're months and months out, given the pace so far. Will it build goodwill and better friendships? What they will do, ultimately, this will come to a head, and they will leave behind just hate and discontent for you, for them. There's nothing good about how they do business. It's the complete antithesis of what's there. I lived it with them on both sides of it, and it is absolutely disrespectful to your employees, and I probably don't have to tell you that frustrations are beyond high, that we can't even get to a scheduled mediation, fact-finding, and arbitration. I'd be happy to provide you that documentation, but these employees, your employees that you spoke so highly of, and they're really a great group of people. They deserve better than having to tolerate the tactics of Fisher Phillips. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? And anyone on the phone line or written in? Phone line 702-589-9629. We will move, if we haven't had anything, we will move to city council reports. We'll start at Councilwoman Booth and move this way.
Well, Steve told me I wasn't allowed to make comments because he wants to get home to the game.
Councilman
But,
Fox? would you
no,
like-
no, I want to make, I'm going to ruin it for him. I just want to say, you know what? You don't realize what a great community you live in until we had a little incident at one of the mobile home parks that I manage. And the fire department was there, the police department was there, the landscape and water department were there, and by the time I got there, they had taken care of everything. They'd gotten the water shut off. In fact, the one little guy was still there waiting for Bud's Plumbing to fix the water so that we could turn the water back on to all the residents there. But what a great group of people that we have in Boulder City. And I just want to say how much I truly appreciate. You don't really realize what you have until an incident comes up like that where everybody kind of just jumps in and starts performing for you. So I just want to thank everybody in the city. It was a wonderful experience. Even though it was bad, they actually destroyed the trailer and knocked it off the, whatever they sit on. So it was a really bad crash. So, I mean, it was just amazing what they did. So thank you.
All right, thank you.
I have nothing to
Councilwoman
comment on.
Jorgensen?
I will disappoint Council Member Walton at this time. Just some cliff notes really fast. Had the chance to go to the Memorial Day service at Veterans Cemetery with Councilwoman Booth, and it was beautiful. And we're thankful for the opportunity to come and to see that, and thankful for those who've served in our country's military. Also, I know many people like to know what we do during the week, so I did the BCHMA board meeting for the historic Boulder City Hotel and Museum. Got to take a vertical farming tour in Las Vegas with City Manager Taylor Tedder, so appreciated that. And went to the Best Damn Barbecue. Hope everyone else had the opportunity to. It was wonderful. And went to Boulder City Day at Cascada. And that was also wonderful. Saw a bunch of residents out there appreciating that and enjoying that experience. So I would echo again my words that I've said so many times. This is why I live in Boulder City. I'm sure this is why you do too. And we're pretty blessed here.
Councilman Walton?
Well, I will share that I asked Mayor Hardy if he had a heart and a soul, and if so, we would get out of here promptly. If you don't want a spoiler alert, you can cover your ears, but I think I heard that Vegas is leading 4-1 in the second period, but I don't know.
Yes, they are.
Okay, well, there we have validation of that rumor. Mr. Mayor, thank you for commenting on the events of June and of this week. I appreciate all that you pointed out, and it really is a great opportunity to reflect upon all the good that we have in our community, in our nation, and all the rights that we have uniquely having this Constitution, and to celebrate it, to defend it, and also to enter into valuable public discourse and to participate in that in the public square, which is truly one of the most unique things about our nation. And I'm grateful for all the folks who call in or who come here or who provide written comments. Every one of them. We need that, and we value that, we seek it out. So thanks to all who are engaged. So today I was at the Convention and Visitors Authority meeting, a lot of good things going on there. If you have any reason to go near the Strip, you've probably noticed the delays for paving, and those continue, although they are on schedule for the completion of the paving. It is in different phases for Formula One because of the unique need for the surface that those cars drive on. So it's on track, but it's still going to be delayed. So for all of our folks that go down in that area, you probably felt that and will continue to feel it, unfortunately. There's great strides being made in returning and far surpassing pre-pandemic numbers in our community, thanks to the great work done by the staff at the Convention and Visitors Authority. They're bringing more aircraft in from otherwise not serviced destinations or hubs originating outside of the country and coming here, which adds to the benefit to our community in room tax and dollars spent in the area. As I commented last time, a great deal of the money spent by visitors is for outdoor activities, and Boulder City is the location for a lot of those. So we do benefit from that. And also seeking to market into the Asian market, which is continuing to increase. So anyway, a lot of good things going on there. And I'll conclude my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other comments, I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
Yeah, they scored.